Hello YouTube, today I'm going to review for you the Rogue Monolift. So as far as this product goes, I've had it for 8 months. I use it every week, so I have a very good idea of the quality of the item, the use you can make of it, and the way you can play around with the specs to adapt it to your needs. So as far as this goes, it is something that you're going to be able to put on the rack directly. So of course it's not a monolift that would be activated with a lever. It is not part of the rack. It doesn't have any mechanism that is going to be directly integrated within something that is a bigger structure. It is what we could call an add-on that you slap on the rack. And this is actually a benefit of this because you can move it around. Um, and also because it's much cheaper, right? If you go and buy an actual monolift from a company like, let's say, Elite FTS, it's going to cost you a few $1,000s. This costs $100. It is very versatile. You can move it around. You can use it for any lift you want because it is easy to just reposition it. You can use it for squats, you can use it for overhead press, you can use it for bench, etc., etc. I will be telling you what I use it for. One thing to keep in mind though is that yes, it is movable, but it's not as easy to move as a G cup, for example. It requires more work because since this is supporting a lot of weight and it's moving with the weight, you want it to be as secure as possible, meaning that it is actually secured with these guys. And the thing is that taking these out and putting them back on can sometimes be challenging. It takes some time. So if you are going to use these monoliths for different compound movements, you're going to have to move it around. Keep it in mind, it's not going to take just a second, but it's very doable. As far as the specs, I know that if you have a 3x4 rack, Rogue sells these pre-crafted or they are put together. You won't have to do anything. They're going to come and they're already going to be usable. Yeah, you're going to be able to put them on the rack immediately. If you have a 3x3, the issue, quote unquote, is that since these were commercialized after the release of the 3x4, they were fit for the 3x4 because Rogue doesn't make new racks that are 3x3. It's something of the past. I personally love 3x3 racks. But if you have a 3x3, you can buy a conversion kit from Rogue that's going to allow you to use it on your rack. Do not buy the 3x4 and think that it's just going to work because it's larger than a 3x3. It's not going to, it is going to fit, but it's not going to stay put together. And also, the conversion kit is super cheap. So instead of trying to tinker with it yourself, I personally do it sometimes with certain items where I'll just cut the metal. Here it's not worth it. Just get the conversion kit. The conversion kit to put it on the monolift is sort of awkward. It takes some time, but it's not hard. And once it's put together, it's put together. So these guys function as follows. You put the weight here, right? And the more weight there is, the more it's going to have the monolith go this way. Keep in mind that if you lift lightweight, it's not going to do this, meaning that it's going to stay in that position. There needs to be some weight on the bar. But most likely, if you are the type of person who is going to invest in a monolift, you should already be lifting more than 135. And in that case, the monolift is already going to be here with the barbell in it. So you put the barbell in, and gravity is going to do its job. And then when you lift the bar, the monolift slides back. So what is the purpose of that? The purpose is to be able to have a static setup, have everything positioned the way you like it, not having to de-rack and move with the weight, etc., etc. So for something like the squat, it's going to help you, or at least for most people, it's going to help you set up your squat stance, unrack the bar, and then squat immediately and re-rack the bar. You won't have to do the walk out or walk in. Depending on if you're a powerlifter, bodybuilder, whatever, it might be a good or a bad thing. Same thing for overhead press, but I'm not going to talk about these two because I personally don't use my monolift for that. The reason why is because I find that working out the squat is comfortable, and I also kind of like it. Same for the overhead press. I only use these for the bench. And let me tell you this is going to change your life on the bench press, because anyone who's been forced in the past to lift alone or who didn't get a lift off knows the difference between having to unrack the bar yourself and having someone do it for you. Especially if you're in a commercial gym, or if you have a bench that is not the right height. De-racking is going to take pounds off of your bench, it's going to mess up your setup and your technique, and worst of all, it's going to hurt your shoulders. A lot of people who have rotator cuff problems with the bench don't realize that the issue is not their form on the bench or the bench itself. It's the fact that they have to de-rack the bar. And just the action of de-racking is already traumatic on the shoulder, but then you are out of position, meaning it's very tough to retuck once you have heavy weight in your hands. This is where these guys come into play. If you have them, you can slap them like I did outside of the rack, have the bench come inside, have your spoiler arms, and if it's the right height, you'll just have to straighten the elbows. These will slide back, and then you can do your set. The beauty of the monolift for bench 2 is you could technically do the same thing with a G cup, right? Because at the end of the day, the G cup is the right height. You just do this and you're out. But then what happens? Every time you bench, you're gonna hit those G cups, and it's not going to be doable. These guys slide back just enough to allow you to do the bench. And for me, for example, I'm the type of person that has a lot of arc in my bench, meaning that my bar path is straight, but I always, with the way my back is pushing on the bench, I always push back on the bench. I don't push straight up. And even with me, when I push back, I never ever hit those guys. Meaning that the range of motion from here to here is enough clearance that as long as you position the bench properly, no person should have issues doing your bench press motion when you unrack. It should be perfectly natural. As far as positioning, it's going to be up to you, but if you have a rack with a lot of hole spacing, getting the right height is not going to be a problem. And the beauty of it too is, if you are like me and you only use it for the bench, it's never going to have to go anywhere. You put it once, and it never goes anywhere. You can have your spoiler arms at the right position every time, etc. If you have to move it around, I suggest you take some chalk and you mark the holes so that you don't have to every time think about it, you just have to look at the chalk. As far as the durability of the product goes, it's only been 8 months. I think these are more durable than that. That being said, the mechanism or the ability of the arm to go through the full range of motion is going to be affected by how tight the screws on the side are. And you're going to find, especially if you're pretty rough with it, that they get out of whack sometimes. And it's not that they're going to get loose, actually, it's the opposite way around. They get too tight. And when they get too tight, the mechanism doesn't work anymore, meaning that it's going to go all the way because there is weight, but when you unrack, it's going to stop here. And that's an issue because then you're going to hit it with your bar. No problem if that happens. You can oil the mechanism. I never had to do that. The only thing you have to do is take a tool and unscrew it a little bit, and it's going to go back to the full range of motion. So if yours is a little bit cranky and doesn't go all the way, just do that. Don't send it back to Rogue. It's very easy to fix. When it comes to the quality of the product, I really like the color, the red and black. I think looks really good. The joints of the product, the screws and everything are quality. They're not going to break anytime soon. Same for what links the product to the rack. It's very solid. One thing I would say is, and it's an upside and a downside, because this is plastic, it's not going to be easy to slide, meaning that if you start benching in the 300s and you have to reposition the bar, it's going to be hard to move. And because it's going to be hard to move, it's going to eat the inside of the monolift. That being said, I think Rogue saw that coming, and the thickness of the spotter arm is pretty significant. That being said, keep in mind that that black thing here is plastic, right there, and that red thing here is steel. Meaning that if you eat all the way into the steel, your bar is going to start rubbing against steel, which could potentially damage your barbell if you have a high quality barbell. So as far as the spoiler arms go, that's pretty much it. The price is around 120 bucks, if I'm not mistaken. It is a product that I would definitely recommend anyone get, especially if you have a home gym and you don't have anyone to give you a lift off. This is going to save your shoulder. It's going to make it so much easier to bench. And also, because I didn't mention it, but it's something that maybe should be said. Once you're done with your set, you put it back in it and it slides back, right? So it's going to give you space for you to get off of the bench. One thing that I was afraid of when I bought these was the hook looks very small, meaning that I was afraid I was going to miss it when you re-rack. But the way this is positioned with the angle, it's not possible to miss it. Meaning that once you touch this, even if it's very high, you can let go of the bar. I don't advise you to, but even if you do, it's going to catch it. I've never had an issue of the bar rolling over, ever. So I think that you'll be safe with that. But of course, if you bench heavy at home, always have spoiler arms ready to catch it, always. So that's going to be that for this video, the review of the Monolift by Rogue. If you have any questions in the comments about the product that I didn't explain, let me know. I would be happy to answer. Have a good day.